So my coach, Myron, he talks about the miseducation institution system that teaches us the things that are all wrong, right? And so I joke with my kids today. I have teenage kids, and then I have a little baby here around here somewhere. So I have teenage children, and they're like, so I teach my kids financial literacy. I teach them about credit. They're in high school. I teach them about, stacking your money and entrepreneurship and all those things. So they're like, Mom, why they don't teach us these things in school? I was like, because the school is not designed for you to succeed. The school is designed for you to become a large taxpayer. Because the middle class and the working class is taxed the most. Did you not know that? The tax code was not written for ordinary people. It was written for who? Entrepreneurs. But the problem is, most entrepreneurs don't understand their power. Anybody ever wanted more than what you had? Anybody want more than what you currently have? All right, so growing up in Bayview Hunters Point, all I saw around me was blight. I saw blight. I saw drug addicts. I saw violence. And during the time, I grew up in the 80s. I grew up in the 80s. Any 80s babies in the house? I grew up in the 80s. I mean, that was the best era ever. The 80s, period. I'm just saying, it was the best era. Right, and so I grew up in the 80s, and this was around the time where you started to see the rise of like drive-by shootings and things like that in my neighborhood, where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm from, you started seeing the rise of that stuff, and for me, I knew that I needed to do something different in order to have a different result than the environment around me. I also knew that society, they had a plan for me. I was supposed to be a statistic. According to the statistics around me, I was supposed to be a teen mom. I was supposed to graduate or drop out of high school and never graduate. I was supposed to end up on welfare. I was supposed to have like 20 kids with 20 different baby daddies, all that stuff, right? But because of the covenant, so when I say covenant, I made a decision at an early age to give my life to Christ, and He has kept me. Oh my God. He has kept me, right? And so growing up, of course, I had friends, and everybody pretended like they were so rich. Everybody pretended like they were so rich. So I thought I was the only one that ate government cheese, that kind of cheese, right? I thought I was the only one in my circle whose parent drove a station wagon. So we drove a station wagon. It was blue and brown. I'll never forget. Because I was embarrassed. Like, I was embarrassed growing up. But now I understand the process was so necessary, right? I count it all joy. But I knew at an early age that in order for me to do something different, I bought into the American dream. Anybody bought into the American dream? Right? So we were all told the American dream is to what? Go to school, get an education, go to college, get a degree, get married, have some churn, buy a house with a picket fence. What comes after that? That was so boring. Okay, so I did that, right? And it wasn't until when I got into college, I realized something. So I was the first to graduate from high school. I was the first to go to college to get a college degree. And I went on, of course, to get my master's and my PhD and all those different things. But I was the first in my family to try to break the generational curse. I had no direction, but I knew that I needed to do something different. So while all my friends were in the clubs and were partying, was drinking, and was smoking, I was in the library applying for applications, studying and learning and trying to figure out how to not be a product of my environment, right? And so I did the American dream. I went to school. I was the first top paid African American young lady at the age of 21 making the top money in the state of California. I did that. So I was making about 6 figures at 21. That's a lot of money. So good pay, good benefits, great job, all the things. But guess what? I was also overworked, underpaid. I couldn't utilize any of the skills that I had went to school for and have accumulated hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans, right? So when I looked to the left of me on the job, I would see people who dropped out of middle school. I would see people who dropped out of high school making the same amount of money that I was making with a college degree. And I was like, wait, something's not right. Anybody ever felt that before? Like, something, what's wrong? So the first aha moment that I had was like, wait, first they told me that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Did they tell y'all that too? I mean, we've been duped, right? So my coach, Myron, he talks about the miseducation institution system that teaches us the things that are all wrong, right? And so I joke with my kids today. I have teenage kids, and then I have a little baby here around here somewhere. So I have teenage children, and they're like, so I teach my kids financial literacy. I teach them about credit. They're in high school. I teach them about, stacking your money and entrepreneurship and all those things. So they're like, Mom, why they don't teach us these things in school? I was like, because the school is not designed for you to succeed. The school is designed for you to become a large taxpayer. Because the middle class and the working class is taxed the most. Did you not know that? The tax code was not written for ordinary people. It was written for who? Entrepreneurs. But the problem is most entrepreneurs don't understand their power.
Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you're enjoying it. I wanted to take some time to invite you to join me in the GovCon Challenge. The GovCon Challenge takes place once a month, where I invite a bunch of entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs to come and have me teach you the 5 things you must do to pre-qualify your business to land lucrative contracts with the government. So join me in the GovCon Challenge. Click on the link in the description. You'll be glad you did. Join as VIP for exclusive behind-the-scenes information, and you could become a part of the top 1% of entrepreneurs across the nation. Now back to the video you were watching.
Y'all want to know how to get your power back? Y'all want to know how to minimize on taxes and all those different things? So I'm going to share with you some of those things. So here I am. Great job, all the things. I'm thinking I'm living the American dream, all those things. But I was working so hard, and I started having children, right? And what I realized is that I'm spending so much time on the job that my baby is calling the babysitter mom. So I was burdened by that. I'm like, dang, I'm not spending enough time. So I get up early in the morning, 5 o'clock, to go drop the baby off at the daycare, to go to work for 8 to 10 hours for somebody else, and to come home to have time to cook dinner and then go to bed, and then to get up the next day and do the same thing over and over and over again. And I felt empty. And I felt dead. Anybody ever felt that before? Because I know some of y'all have had some jobs before, and many entrepreneurs are working their way out of their jobs right now. So I want you to understand that I understand, right? So I understand. So for me, I knew and I had heard that entrepreneurship was going to be the true way out. So I started educating myself. They say education is the key, but it's the application. It's the self-education, not the institutions. The institution education is not the key, right, to success. Self-education and applying that education is the true way. So I started a business, entrepreneur, right? But I started a business the way that I was taught by society. I started a business thinking I have to bootstrap my way to the top. Anybody ever thought you had to bootstrap your way to the top? They tell us that it takes 2 to 5 years to grow a business. Anybody ever was told that? Yeah, you were told that 2 to 5 years to grow a business. You need venture capital, you need a loan, and then when you go to the bank to ask for a loan to start your startup business, which they say they have startup money, and then guess what happens? You get denied, right? So for the first few years in business, I was broke. I was working hard, 40 to 60 hours a week, and I wasn't making no money. Anybody ever been there? Anybody ever worked hard and was not making any money, and you're just like, it just doesn't add up, right? Right? But I knew I couldn't give up because I would see success around me, right? And so here's the thing. It was okay for a moment. I was okay struggling. So I was barely making $20,000 to $30,000 a year with a video production, film, photography company, and I was just like, I'm just tired, right? But I couldn't give up. I knew that I couldn't give up. So what I did was I started investing in mentorship. Mentorship is the best thing you can invest in. Mentorship. If you don't have a mentor, if y'all not in the inner circle and have not applied yet, you must do it because it will literally change your life, right? So here I am. I'm struggling in business, and I'm thinking I made it. I got a business. I'm married to a minister at the time. I was married to a minister. Now I'm married to a millionaire. I was married to a minister and we were broke. How we in the church? How we in the church talking about our Father is rich in houses and land. He holds the world in the palm of his hand, and we broke. Nah. But I counted all joy because it was part of the process, right? And so there was a time where things weren't working out. We were getting ready to go through a divorce. And this minister told me, you got to figure it out. We're friends now, so I can tell the story, right? It's no hard feelings. So I thank him, because had I not had to figure it out, I wouldn't be the girl that got money today, right? So I'm like, figure it out. I got kids, I got bills. My son, who was about 5 or 7 years old at the time, he had literally started going through a growth spurt, and he was growing out of his clothes. But I didn't really have no money. Like I said, I was working really hard and I was making a little bit of nothing. So all I had was to pay the bills, just to keep a roof over our head. And he had literally, I remember very clearly, he had literally started walking holes to the bottom of his shoes, and there was nothing that I can do about it. There was nothing. Have you ever felt like, your back was up against the wall as an entrepreneur, and then the little devil on your shoulder says, you got to go back to work? Anybody ever felt that? You ever had that voice that say, this is not going to work. You need to go back to work where it's safe. But what I come to realize is that working for someone else is not safe. In fact, working for yourself, that's the safest place. That's the safest place, right? And so going through divorce, and I had remembered during my childhood, I found myself in that moment remembering I did not want to be the struggling single mom, even though my mom did everything that she could to provide, and she did provide. She did her best. But I didn't want to live that same story. I remembered very clearly hearing my mom cry at night. And I didn't understand because she had 7 children. So, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't understand why would she be in the room crying. It's because we asked for lunch money, we asking for clothes, we want Adidas and Pumas and all those, and we couldn't have it and she couldn't provide it. That's why she was crying. So I remember very clearly, and I remember how I felt. The moment that one time I asked my mom for lunch money. Anybody remember paper food stamps? Paper food stamps? And she gave me paper food stamps. And I was like, how am I going to spend paper food stamps around my friends, right? I'm like, so I got smart, started thinking, I know what. During the time when I grew up, they had penny candies. You could buy a candy for a penny. So I'm like, penny candy. So I'm 99 cents here, 99 cents there, and we're going to go to the store and get a hard bun sandwich and some chips and a cream soda, right? But I knew, at that moment, I had made the decision. I made the decision to cut myself off from poverty. I made the decision to do that a long time ago. I did not know that entrepreneurship was going to be the vehicle that brought me there. And so, after making that decision, I knew that I needed to start a business. I did not know how that business was going to bring me wealth. Going through divorce, and guess what happens? I met a black billionaire. He was a multi-billionaire. And I was freelancing, doing some photography, building his websites. And I was like, you know what? I had asked the question, how did you do it? Sometimes people don't want to ask the question because you feel like it's taboo. You're not supposed to ask nobody, how did they do it? Nobody's going to want to share their secret. And he took a serious look at me and he said, the same thing that you're doing for me, the government will pay you 100 times more for the same amount of work, the same amount of time, right? That's all I needed to know.